Australians, oh, let's make a choice, for we're no longer free. Our government has let us down and failed our own country. The great Australian dream is for the lucky few, but Aussies know what it really means to be true blue. Lest we forget what's a fair go and make Australia fair. South, we just want to live and grow. Advance Australia fair.
Howdy, folks. How are you? Hope you're doing all right. Great to see the family is alive and well in the chat room. Rachel, you were second in, but only missed it by a 15th, which is just that much smaller than a bee's dick as far as I'm concerned. Jack beat you in tonight, but good luck. Tim, nice to see you in, brother. Might see you this weekend. There is an event happening in areas where Tim might be turning up and I might be turning up, just between you, me, and the gatepost. We'll talk about that a little later in the week. G'day to everybody else that's in the chat. Sunflower is probably in there somewhere, as is Aussie Sue, although Rachel and maybe I should scroll down a bit. Dave Rogers, interesting emails from you, Dave. There's some interesting things going on with the Tasmanian school system at the moment, and we'll have a talk about that maybe tonight, but possibly not tonight. Might be another night. G'day, Baz, Dusty, Donna Lee, Michelle. Lovely to have you in too. Glad you like the song. The song is Dan Daniels, and it came across one of my feeds somewhere, and I loved it. And I thought, what a great sentiment it is for those of us that are just, we're done with it. We're done with the bullshit. And I like the national anthem, but I really like what Dan's done to it. So I contacted him. He allowed me to use it. So there you go. You're going to see a bit of that, probably get sick of it. But for the meanwhile, anyway, that's what my intro is going to be. I'm really keen to have him on the show for a bit of a chat too. So with a little bit of luck, that'll happen in the next couple of weeks or so. All right. So there's been, a fair bit of interesting stuff happening around the world. I guess the big story at the moment is Gaza, but I don't want to get into that at least this early. There are bigger and better things that we can be talking about that have much more effect on you and where you live here and now. And of course, I'm talking about what they're doing with your super. Now, I mentioned to you last night that there were some interesting, if not kind of scary things going on with Big Super. One of them is the fact that a couple of articles have been written about how they're going to make a play to keep your super. Now, of course, when we're talking super, there is only one person in the country that I would trust to talk super with, and that is this lovely lady here. Hello, Cass Smith from Freedom Financial Solutions. How's the hand before we go any further?
I'm still in a lovely brace, and they did blue, which doesn't match my colour scheme.
But it is your favourite colour.
No, purple. Purple's my favourite colour.
See, it must be I know where I'm confused. Blue is my favourite colour, and that's the colour of your Mustang. Right.
Yes.
Right. That's where the confusion lies. I apologise.
Yes. Anyway, no, the hand is recovering, but it's still not very good. They operated after 6 months of pain. They operated and couldn't fix it. So.
Oh no.
Basically, a life of pain and arthritis and suffering. But of course, as I know, I don't believe a word the medical profession says. There's plenty of other things I can try, and I will be trying everything, and I will get it better. But at the moment, the knuckle's still the size of twice the size of the other one. But anyway, all thanks to my beautiful dog.
Yeah, well, the dog was certainly the cause, but the incompetence of the doctors that you went and saw, who sent you home saying, "Oh, no, a couple of Panadol, you'll be fine," and the fact that you are a warrior woman and you put pain to one side and plow on regardless. I suppose that's why you lived with it for as long as you did. But
Yeah.
so they weren't able to reattach the tendons, obviously, or not to a point where
No,
you're
they
going to be
cut
able
through more tendons to get to the knuckle, only to decide there's nothing they could do. So I actually ended up worse off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's
Anyway.
hope that we can put an X39 patch on your knuckle and get a bit of an effect out of it once you get all the plaster off it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Excellent. But yeah, when it comes to super,
it's scary about super. Well, a lot of big stories coming out. A lot of people have heard rumours that big super companies being led by Australian Super are looking to lock up their super reserves or their clients' money for their clients' lifetimes. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, like, so on that article we sent out in our newsletter, and if anyone's not on our newsletter, I'll put our link later on in the comments. Get on it, because we send these sort of things out and Carl looks at them. So Peter Credlin did a really big article on this, as did a few others. And what they're insinuating is that the big super funds want, when you go into retirement, they want to set you up in a retirement account that will lock you in to that super fund for the rest of your life. So anyone that's been following what Freedom Financial Solutions has been doing is we've been setting up self-managed super funds and rolling over your account into the self-managed super fund, and then buy gold, buy silver, buy crypto, buy property, buy whatever you want. And it's out of the clutches of the government. So really, really good idea to do. And so
Absolutely.
I think super funds are counteracting and going, well, let's lock everyone in for life so that they can't do this.
Yeah. So that is a clear. It's obviously not going to be a high selling point to attract customers. That sort of attitude. So is this something they're going to try and sneak through back channels, because they obviously would need government approval to do that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, and it looks like the government is all on board with it, because they, as we all, what I've spoken about before, is the government want to use super funds for building the smart cities. They're already committing people's super into what they deem affordable housing and things like that, which of course is a need, and we do need that. But it's all more directed to the smart city technology and the high-rise apartments where they can lock us all in. But as for that lifetime account, I just want to counter that. I have looked into it and I have researched it. And as far as I can tell, my dog that did my hand just entered my room.
Huh.
Anyway, as far as I can research into the background of it, I can't actually see anything that says they want to lock us in.
Right.
So I just want to say that Peter Credlin and things have been saying things, and I'm not absolutely sure that they're true. But I will report back. But more on that news, and I've got it here up in front of me, is that another thing that they're proposing is that they're saying that the super funds can't properly advise clients because they don't know enough about clients. So what they're proposing is that the super fund should have access to private confidential data, such as your marital status, whether you own your own home, their assets and their income. I'm reading this straight off the recommendation. If funds were equipped with an understanding of the member's assets, income, debts, marital status, and dependents, they could propose a strategy more recommended to their objectives. I know after 30 years in the financial services business is that you don't give that information to anyone other than a trusted financial advisor that you want to have that information.
Yeah.
You don't go logging it onto a government department or a super fund website.
And how does that work? I'm just trying to think. How will that work if you well, if you don't supply that information, well, you'll have to, and it will work through the digital identity that
Yeah,
they're
all of,
pushing through.
so it's
That'll
all
all
just,
link into that.
yeah, it's all just another step down that road of governments and big super and big corporations having all the data on you, and they're proposing it.
And all
I
the
mean,
money.
the average person reading this would go, "Oh yeah, okay, that's a good
It
idea."
sounds reasonable. It
Yeah,
sounds plausible.
yeah,
So do the smart lights, that they say they're going to put up in, and they are putting up in streets all over Australia. They say, that the technology in that'll be great. We'll be able to, monitor street fires and all sorts of things. If the house breaks out on fire in the middle of the night, we'll be the first ones to know about it because the light will tell us.
Yeah,
It'll call the fire department. Well, yeah, it'll
absolutely.
also.
On that topic, Carl, I had my security system here in the house went down last week, and I tried to fix it myself with all the reset buttons that I know, but it didn't work. And I had to call the security company, and they sent out a technician. And the only way they could fix it was by upgrading it to a 4G system because it was on a 3G system.
Wow. Okay.
So you can see what's coming next. 6 months down the track, it'll be, oh, no, you need a 5G system now.
Yeah, you need 5G. And sure, there's nothing wrong with having a 5G transmitter in your home. You've got one in your hand. If you've got the latest iPhone.
Exactly, until they decide to turn it off so they can do whatever they want. But anyway, back to super. So this is quite scary that they're asking for that sort of information. And something that I haven't spoken about before in any shows is that I was involved in a very, 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 very sad case of an old man, Australian post worker. He'd worked there for like his whole career, 30 odd years. Accumulated a reasonable super balance for 30 years. Like he only had about 300,000, and it was all he had left. But because he owned his own house and his wife had some super, that was probably going to be enough to see him out through his retirement years. Westpac made an extremely bad mistake on their documentation. That resulted in me giving the wrong advice, and anyone could Google this, it's been in the news, that I gave the wrong advice based on the Westpac documentation.
Yep.
The tax office then fined him, as they can do, your entire super balance.
Good God.
Good God. They took this man's entire super balance because of a mistake that I made based on a document that Westpac provided. So we went to court, fought it all the way through. The guy was a blithering mess. Like, he was a UK guy, old guy, the stress. I'm amazed the case didn't. It went all the way through to the courts. I stood interrogation from the tax department for about 4 hours on the stand, and unfortunately it happened to be the night after my son had serious facial reconstruction surgery from a football accident. I'd had no sleep, and I got absolutely interrogated by the tax department. But the end result was, it was absolutely evident that the Westpac documentation led me astray. So it comes back to the fact of these big corporations providing this sort of financial advice, like the likes of Westpac, Australian Super, whatnot, providing financial advice when their clients are just a number on the screen. Yep. So they made a mistake, and it cost the guy his life savings. And what I was so disgusted in is that the Westpac, how deep are their pockets? Why would they not just say, look, sorry, mate, we'll give you a $300,000 payout? What would it have mattered for Westpac?
Yeah.
Instead, it cost this guy,
whatever it was, $1 billion, profit in a financial year.
Yeah. It cost this guy his life savings and even more to fight it through court. And in the end, we lost. And in the end, the judge, he went out to deliberate for 3 or 4 months before he came back with his ruling. And even he, in his summary, said, I'm really, really sorry. The system is really, really unfair, but I have no choice but to rule with the tax department and uphold their penalty. And that was a judge that we know is in bed with the government, but at least he was able to acknowledge that he was sorry. And this guy's still now destitute. He's lost his super. over a mistake that the big fund made. And that's where this sort of thing really gets to me. What I just read out before is that the big super funds, they say they want all your data, your marital status, your assets, your income, so that they can advise you better. And then they go and do that to poor innocent people.
Yeah. I don't understand. Well, maybe you can explain. The biggest benefit of having a self-managed super fund rather than allowing a big corporation who invests your money with everybody else's money and supposedly delivers much greater profits in the long term for you. Why would I change into a self-managed super fund?
Because you control it yourself. Your investments are entirely your own. Instead of having your money sitting out on a cyber screen with some other big corporation investing it, and they all invest with BlackRock, Vanguard, iShares, you name it, all of the institutions that are involved in everything we know about, and the smart cities and buying up the farmland and everything that we know about. That's where your super is. If you're not in self-managed super fund, that's where your super is. So if you change it to self-managed super, you can put it in gold, silver, property, crypto, anything that you choose. You can put it in the share market if you want to, but we'll talk about that a bit later, Carl. But the benefit of SMSF, the sole benefit, I mean, there's a lot of other benefits. There's tax advantages. There's estate planning advantage. There's a huge amount of advantages. But what's happening at the moment, the advantage is you control your own investment.
What about trusts and that sort of stuff? Does that link into what we're talking about here, like family trusts?
Yeah, self-managed super fund is just a type of trust. It's just governed by the self-managed super fund rules. There are plenty of other trusts. I've been an accountant for 30 odd years. We do trusts, we do family trust, discretionary trust, all that sort of thing. In all honesty, there's a lot of people out there promoting private trusts and charging an absolute fortune for them. I've disagreed with them on every single turn because I mean, a trust is basically a document. It's a piece of paper. It's like, it's like this. It's a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Someone turns up at your house and demands all your assets and puts a gun to your head. What's this piece of paper going to do? So I can set up trusts for people and I can advise on them properly and not charge an absolute fortune for advice that probably isn't going to help.
I think at this point it's probably worthy pointing out that Freedom Financial Solutions was set up for one reason, and that was to help people in our side of the argument, if you like, who have not been, for whatever reason, given access to services, or we've just never assumed, like me. I mean, my story is no secret. I have $26,000 in super. It's never going to be enough to do anything in my life. And in fact, I've written it off now that the government will have it, will be able to have it. Cass has tried to help me get it out. And even if I was to come in with a group of people, it's still, not really going to help anybody's group if I come and join you with my 26 grand. So I've given up on it. It's basically a loss to me. But if you've got more than that, you should be ripping it out and putting it into gold, silver, all the other options that are available. And I was only talking today, Cass, to somebody who I don't think had ever seen real silver before in their life. And I brought out one of the coins that I've been given and said, well, this is how you can go and pay for your bacon and eggs and a couple of coffees, 2 bacon and eggs and a couple of coffees, and give that to the cafe owner. And they're likely to say, thank you very much, sir. Please come again. And he couldn't believe that sort of thing is now happening. But then he said, oh, if I was to buy it, I've got to try and find somewhere to store it. I've got to try and find somewhere to hide it. I'd be so nervous about somebody stealing it. So there are solutions. And you're appearing in Wagga Thursday night at the RSL, the 22nd, along with Ainsley, Michael and the crew from Ainsley Bullion. Can you explain to people, we are talking, some of the people watching may have significant or semi-significant amounts of super. Any amount, I would say, is significant to most people. So will you be able to advise them on the safe ways to look after their stash once they've created a self-managed super fund?
Yeah, for sure. So when it comes to gold and silver, this SMSF can buy it. Once you've set up an SMSF, rolled your super over, the SMSF can buy gold and silver. about 90% of our clients are putting all their money into gold and silver. The only ones that aren't are the ones that maybe are buying a rural property or crypto fanatics. So you can buy gold and silver. You can leave it with the dealer. Like Ainsley Bullion is our preferred dealer. They can store it for you, or you can rent your own private vault and store it yourself, or you can store it at home. My preference has always been to store it at home, because if something happens, like, you know, everything's escalating with wars and everything that's going on, if a war breaks out, you're not maybe going to be able to get to the nearest capital city to get your money out of the vault.
No.
So storing it at home is a great option if you can. And I recommend a really good safe. I recommend it buried in the ground, under a cupboard, under your vegetable patch. Just if you buy in your vegetable patch, a big safe, in a big Bunnings plastic bucket buried in your garden. There's so many different ways to hide it.
I've seen people use those crates. They put water in. There's a name for them, but you know, you've got them on the property. Ton of water in the bucket. Yeah, I've seen people cut the tops out of those and put their stash of silver in them.
Sink it in the ground.
Clearly a bit bigger than mine, and bury them.
Sink it in the ground. So many different inventive ways. I've seen people put it in a wall. So pull the plaster sheet off the wall, fill it with the silver, and if I had time, I'd go out and get a big silver brick I've got here. It's about that big, the 5 kilo bricks. Literally line the wall with the bricks. Actually, that would probably be a 5G and protector.
Good shield, actually. Yeah, you're right.
Line your whole wall with the silver bricks. Put the plaster back up. Plaster it up.
Yeah. There are a lot of really good places.
One tip I've always given everybody is, if you do something like hide it somewhere really inventive, let your beneficiaries
know where. If
something happens to you.
I know a bloke that has a 25 kilo gold bar. In fact, he has 2 of them.
Shit.
They are
2.5 million.
There's a lot of money, and a lot of money. So it would be over. They're 25 kilo bars. It's
1
a 50
million.
kilo.
It's 100,000 for 1 kilo. So 25 kilos. Yeah, it would be 2.5 million. Yeah.
Yep. You're the mathematician. Remember, you're the accountant. I'm the talker. He has them together, stacked together, covered, or they're wrapped in like a grease paper, a brown wax paper, and are hidden under a tea cozy and used as a doorstop in his house, of a door that is never closed.
Yeah.
So people walk past millions and millions of dollars every time they walk into his house, and they never think to look at the tea cozy unless they kick it, because shit, it hurts if you kick it. So,
hiding in plain sight sometimes is the best example. I used to use the 5 kilo silver blocks as bookends.
Yeah. Well, you also have a desk that's covered in 1 ounce fake $5 silver bars too, so it gets a bit confusing when you walk into your office.
I have hidden it all now, because I'm out here speaking about it so much that I thought, well, I could be a target, so I have moved it all. But personally, I believe store it in your own house, but I have personally moved it out of my house for obvious reasons. But I mean, SMSF, it's about getting it. These big funds, and I think, Carl, we're also going to talk about the fact that the Australian Super, the CEO of Australian Super, who's proposing some of these changes, has come. That's been on the news. It was only today. I've lost the link to the article now, but that he has $1 million salary. No, sorry, was it? Did I say that too far? $2 million.
Yeah, $2 million salary. That's the head of Australian Super. That happens to be the people who've got my $26,000 and aren't going to give it up lightly until I die or reach that age. And I'm sure by the time I reach that age, they'll find a reason not to give it to me.
Yet all of their ads carry on and say, "Oh, we are for the people, and our fees are low," and blah 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 blah.
What the little whatever the bloody finger sign thing is, the secret group, and yet there is information like this that comes out that says there's been a 45% jump in the complaints against Big Super, and Senator Roberts is obviously looking for as much information on that as he can possibly get. What do you know about that? And is the complaint process something? I'm sure that you've had something to deal with, because I know that there were a lot of go slows put on in the early days of the SMSFs being set up, that you had complaints in left and right. That complaint process, or 45% complaints, that's not good for business either. Would you trust your money with that sort of rate of complaint?
No, because the complaints tie up a huge amount of resources within the super departments, because they have to address them and answer them, etc. And we have been involved with Senator Roberts, and we have also had an article in the Australian newspaper about the complaints that we were lodging. Was that when we set up the SMSF and we went to roll over the money from the existing super fund, they delayed every excuse under the sun. It was like, oh no, we didn't get the mail.
Yeah.
Oh, but we've got the registered post saying you did get the mail, and then we'd send it again, and they would say 4 times we didn't get the mail, but we've got registered post saying you did. So they were all just about delaying the rollover. So that, I don't know what the 45% increase in complaints is, but it could really be a lot about that, about the fact that the super funds are not releasing the money. Because we've been doing this for so long. I've been doing SMSF for 20 years. Because we've been doing it, we had a 2,000% increase in business. So we are doing it for hundreds of clients. We really know how to get to the super funds, and they don't stuff us around anymore. They did before that article went in the Australian, and now they don't. When we send a rollover request, they action it. And that's what I say. Some people, there are some promoters out there saying that you can do a really cheap SMSF. It's half the price of what we do, but all they do is the SMSF itself. They don't do anything else.
Right. So the difference being what's the added services you bring?
So we set up the SMSF just like they do, but then we set up a bank account, we set up a tax file number, an ABN, we liaise with the clients, hold their hand, deal with their fear. But most importantly, we liaise with the outgoing super fund and say, give us the money.
Give us the money.
And,
yep.
Yeah. And because we've been doing it for so long, and, I don't try and big note myself or promote myself, but, I've been in this industry 30 years. I went to university for 16 years. I've got a master's degree in taxation. I worked for the tax department for 11 years. Once I stepped in and said to the tax department, stop fucking around with my clients. I didn't say it like that, obviously. But yeah, we don't get much flack from the outgoing super funds or the tax department anymore. In the beginning, a lot of our clients were getting what's called an audit, where the tax office was calling the clients to say, why are you setting up an SMSF? Do you understand? Blah, blah, blah. We haven't had any of that lately, because I think they've just, every single time they did it, they lost. Yep. So that's a huge waste of resources. One of my clients, they tried to stop setting up an SMSF because she was unemployed, because she got sacked for reasons which we all know. But she'd been in the public service for 25 years and then got sacked. And then they tried to stop her setting up an SMSF on grounds that she was incompetent because she was unemployed.
Wow.
Anyway, I hit that one hard. A 5-page documentation to say, how dare you judge my client on the basis of their status because they're unemployed when you were the ones that sacked them. Anyway, they passed that one, and they've passed every other one since I've been involved in, and now we don't really get any audits at all. They must have put us in the basket of too hard, let's just let it all through. It's really scary what's going on out there.
Michelle's saying she always has to leave $6,000 in her super, and that's Host Plus. Does that seem like something you've got to do?
Yeah, really good question, Michelle, because that is in relation to you keeping your insurances. So we now have someone who can fully help you with your insurances. The SMSF can take out insurances for you, but it is a process with every insurance, particularly health insurance. It is a big process of applying for it. The insurance company might want medicals and blood tests and things like that. So we always tell you to keep your existing one open until we get the new insurances in your SMSF. And we've got someone that can help. You just need to email me. I'll introduce you. They will sort out your insurances. The other alternative is to just say, well, because insurances are getting more and more and more expensive because of the death rates and the sickness and everything that's happening.
Yep.
My insurance premium, I was blown away just for one of my little policies I had. I got the updated bill, and it was $1,000 a month.
What?
$12,000 a year for some insurance on my health. And I just went, done, cancel that.
Yeah.
So for some people, and then as we all know from insurance policies, I'm now fighting with at least 3 different insurance companies over the storm devastation that came Canberra, straight over the top of my house, funny that, and then straight over the top of my property in Withering, funny that. We're now fighting with insurance companies. And we've had a tree that's come down, like the whole branch fell off over the cars.
Yep.
So the insurance company authorised cutting off that branch, but the tree people have said, well, now the whole tree is unstable, it's dangerous. Insurance company won't cover it because that's not part of the storm. What?
How does that?
Insurance companies are arseholes. So
they're just thieves. They employ the smartest lawyers, not so that they can create great contracts for us. It's so that they can create great contracts for them. Insurance lawyers are the best lawyers to get your way out of anything.
Yeah.
Because they know every loophole.
Yeah. So Michelle's question, it's a matter of, well, there comes a time where you just go, well, there's no point having these insurances, close the account, roll over your last $6,000. Or if you want the insurances, we can get you sorted in the SMSF for some insurances.
A says, I am eligible for a payout from Super Insurance for disability help. So what email can A email you at to try and get some help, Cass?
We can possibly help, but it's probably going to be more cost effective to go straight to your super fund, because basically there's a whole lot of rules and conditions about letters from doctors and letters from specialists that you simply need to submit to them. If you seek our help, I mean, I have staff to pay, so I will have to be just charging you for their time to do something that you could do yourself, which is just get those medical reports and get them to the super fund.
Yeah, right. So that makes sense. And like, once again, we get back to what Freedom Financial Solutions was set up for. It's not about the making of money. It's about the helping of people who ordinarily haven't, for whatever reason, been able to be exposed to this sort of information before. I, for one, never dreamed that I would be walking into a gold or silver bullion office for any reason, much less buying a few coins or anything else. And yet, you know, the team at Ainslie, Melbourne and Brisbane are just like family to me now. I walk in, the girls at the front say, hi, Carl. You know, it's just wonderful. And they are that kind of family to everybody that goes in and joins them. But there are so many people like me who I've met on the road who say, thank you for introducing us to it, because we didn't know that we were actually able, like me, to go in and spend $22 or $23 or $5, whatever it is, and start my stack, as it's called.
Yeah.
And you actually feel pretty close to it. I feel a lot closer to that $22, $25 or 2 of them or 3 of them or whatever I've been able to accumulate than I do about sticking the same amount of plastic notes in a, money tin and saving for it. I've got one of those money tins around here. I'll show you how useful they are, but I can't reach it because it's flat and got nothing in it, because I had to rip it open to get everything that was in it out of it when I had nothing. So, the coin, much better investment. And you think long and hard about, do I really need this money? Do I really want to go and sell this silver? No, I don't. I want to, because I don't have very much of it. I want to keep it as much as I can. So yeah, that's a last resort when you see me selling.
Ainsley bullion are great. Like whenever I go in there, I tend to, because I'm in Brisbane, when I go there, I tend to be dressed in, I'm a menopausal woman and my early 50s. When I can't handle the heat, so when I go there, I'm dressed in a singlet, shorts and thongs. And often I go into institutions and get treated like some sort of scumbag because I'm dressed like that. But I go into Ainsley Bullion and they're like, oh, cash. They're so great to deal with. You can deal with them by phone, by email, internet order, and they will do anything they can to get you your product. And it is so easy. If you have a spare $100, you can go in and buy gold and silver. If you have a spare $20,000, you can go in and buy gold and silver. If you have money in your self-managed super fund, in normal super, you can convert it to self-managed and buy gold and silver. It's actually really, really easy. I started on this journey, I think it was about 12 years, maybe even 15 years now when I first bought my gold and silver in my self-managed fund. I was following a man by the name of Jim Rickards. Anyone could Google him. He's an absolute amazing wealth of knowledge. He used to be an advisor to the Pentagon, financial advisor to the Pentagon. And he is one that is saying that we're heading for an 80% crash. Get your money into gold and silver. So I started with that 12 years ago, and I've followed him since then. And now he's just saying that crash is just around the corner. So Carl, that might bring up the next picture we were going to talk about, if you want to bring that up.
Hang on, I've just got to flip screens here for one little moment, and I'll get back to that one right there. End of the American Empire. Now, Robert Kiyosaki is a name a lot of people will have heard of, but he's warning that the S&P 500 is about to crash by 70%, and he reckons it's equivalent to the fall of Rome. Bloody hell. Sounds a bit dramatic, doesn't it?
No, because that's what I've been saying for about 2 years now, and that's what Jim Rickards that I mentioned, and there's a whole lot of other experts as well. If you watch some of their videos, you will then start, the way the algorithms work, you will start to see a whole lot of other videos of other financial experts, far more credible than me, saying the same thing, a 70 to 80% crash on the share market, the biggest crash in human history, which anyone who has super that's going to go. 80% of it's going to go, if not all of it. So that's why I've been so passionate about what we've been doing, because I was ready to retire when COVID hit, and I just went, what's the point of all this anymore? Money means nothing with what's coming. It's like, we need food, we need water, we need accommodation. We don't need money. I don't give a shit about money anymore.
We don't need new windmills in the sea. We need houses for people living in tents.
And food. And food. Yeah. And then where this all started, I started speaking out on the stages at rallies, just saying, get your super out. Like, it's government controlled. It's one of these things that when it comes to the stability of the financial system, when it crashes, your super is just a number on a screen on the internet. It will be gone in a flash. Get it out, get it into gold and silver or property that you own, you touch, you feel.
Yep. Turn it into something real.
Yeah, real assets. And that's, what a lot of the experts are saying, those that know what's coming.
Well, we've been saying on our side of the fight here for a while that the global market is going to crash. Nasara Jassara has mentioned a great deal. For those people who are aware of what Nasara Jassara is this going to impact, if I have a secret stash of gold and silver, is that going to impact whatever I might be, the abundance that might be coming my way through Nasara Jassara?
Well, firstly, I followed Nasara and Jassara for quite a few years. I personally don't believe it's going to happen. I think it's one of these things that, like the white hats, they keep saying that someone's coming to save us all and everything's going to be okay, so just sit tight. I think that's actually a distraction, and so that people do nothing. Everybody just sits back going, oh, okay, I can just watch Netflix every night because someone's coming to save us. Yeah. I don't believe anything's coming to save us. We need to save ourselves. And even if it is coming, there's no harm in getting your superannuation or any cash out of bank and putting it in gold and silver, because it's a hard physical asset.
Yeah, I can't see Nasara Jassara making any difference to the price of the hard precious metal you hold in your hand. Gold and silver have been the precious metals of the world since the world started. Nothing has changed there. There might not be any other truth in the history we have been told, but there is truth in the fact that the only thing that has ever been the consistent currency on this planet is gold and silver.
Absolutely. And then you also add to that the fact that gold and silver is used as a massive commodity. Everything we can think about technological wise, that's a big word, computers, iPhones, aircraft, spacecrafts, anything you can think of that is IT related, and many other things, the solar panels. It is estimated that if Australia alone continues on its current solar panel path of how many solar panels they want to construct, we will use the entire silver reserve of the world. In other words, it can't be done.
Which can't happen because China have already got twice that lined up for what they're planning on building with solar. So
gold and silver is used in so many commodities that even if the whole system crashes and everything like that, doesn't matter. Gold and silver is a fundamental commodity that is valuable, that will never go away.
I don't know if you'll know the answer to this, but the silver market, particularly in the commodity side of things, seems to be a shaded or protected market, with a great deal of the sales being hidden from the general market and therefore manipulating that price. And I'm specifically referring to the military industrial complex sales, where people may or may not know that a Trident missile, nuclear missile, requires, I think it's 5 grams, it might be 500 ounces of silver in every missile. So there is a huge amount of silver being used in the technology to put together smart weaponry. It doesn't work with your just normal bit of solder and a copper wire. Apparently it all has to be, premium grade silver. And what do? They blow it all up. They fire it at each other. And therefore the money, I suspect, that is being hidden in these trades when they're buying the silver is simply being swapped from one pocket to the other, because we all know both sides are selling these corporate bastards, Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, are selling weapons to both sides. So, and funding.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
There's a lot of talk in your pocket.
There's a lot of talk about the manipulation of the silver market and that it will explode. I must admit, I don't fully understand it. The guys from Ainsley Bullion are great at explaining that. And for anyone who's interested in any of this, contact Ainsley Bullion, at least get on their email list, because they send out probably every couple of days, they send out a really good briefing about what's happening in the world and how that's affecting the gold and silver prices.
Yeah, and it is a really good update. Well worthwhile checking out. Well, just on that note then, you're heading off with the Ainsley guys and girls to Wagga on Thursday. You'll be in Shepparton at the Terminus, or the Terminal, whichever one, in Shepparton. I've been there a couple of times. It's a brilliant pub. Say hi to the crew down there. Hello to Sarah. And then you're going to Rowville, I think, for my place the following Monday.
Monday, and then Frankston on Tuesday.
So, well, a week on the road. I guess you're not sleeping in the bus though, so your wine will be chilled when you get to wherever you're getting.
Yeah, as always, I'll miss my dogs when I go, but sometimes I have to travel.
So if people have questions for you about how to start this process, they can catch up with you at the Wagga RSL or in Shepparton at the Terminus. Rowville, go into my place in the Unity Hub. You'll see the ads for it in there, and we're streaming on the Unity Hub now. If you've got any questions, Cass is also now a member of the Unity Hub, so you can post some questions in there, and as soon as we get her computer working again, she might be able to go in and answer a few of them for you. But we'll organise all of that.
And I've just posted our website on the chat. But it's easy. It's Freedom FFS. So freedom for Fred's sake.
Yes, freedom for financial sake.
Yeah, Freedom FFS. And on there, anything you want to know about SMSF, it's all on there. My associate, Mary Jane, has done a fantastic job in putting up huge amounts of videos, explanations, frequently asked questions, everything you could possibly know, whether you're visual or audio, it's all on there. You can watch the videos, read the descriptions, or just contact us for a chat, because we are Australian. We answer our phone. We answer our questions when people ring us.
Yep, great. Well, thank you very much. Good luck on the tour you are about to embark on. Are you flying, or are you taking the Mustang to stretch its legs?
Bit of both. We're driving to Wagga, the first destination, but then I'm heading off on my own with the Ainsley Bullion crew to travel around the rest of Melbourne and then fly back home next Wednesday.
Roger that. Well, be safe. Have a great trip. And
one thing, Carl, before we leave the discussion about the Mustang, I sent you an article today. This might be another whole conversation we could have about.
I've got it here. I'm going to bring it up. Just give me 1 second. I need to change my screen and share that one instead. This is what you're talking about. The Republic of Canberra rules against new petrol and diesel cars in the capital by 2035.
Yep.
My God. Summernats brings in how many millions of dollars to Canberra at a time of year when Canberra only has people who can't afford to get out of Canberra in Canberra?
Oh, they'll probably give an exemption for Summernats. I can imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's absolutely insane. And that Sky News article was really good. It went on to describe how many tradies in Canberra need to pull a trailer, and they need They need Hiluxes. And
if you want anything built.
But what I loved was go down a little bit further, Carl, is that they used one of the photos from one of the Freedom.
That one there.
Yeah, that's a photo from a Freedom rally. So they're sort of trying to imply that those that drove V8s are these crazy freedom-loving protesters.
Unbelievable, isn't it? We should also point out that Cairns News are going to be helping us out with a bit of news as well. One of the big stories that came out of Queensland today, and they had this within 15 minutes of it breaking this morning, that this wonderful piece of work, the Police Commissioner of Queensland has decided to resign and not take up her $60,000 a year or $650,000 a year job again, mainly because all the police are leaving. On the Gold Coast, a senior officer who authorised two other officers to ram a vehicle that was filled with teenagers who'd stolen the vehicle and were armed and had been committing various crimes for a number of days, authorised them to ram the vehicle and arrest them. They did that. What happened to that officer that authorised them? Well, 2 nights later, he had the coppers turn up on his door and serve him with a lot of paperwork that basically meant you're going on holidays until we decide whether or not we're going to let you have your job back. He's being investigated. He was reprimanded. He lost his job essentially for doing his job, stopping the criminals, protecting the community. The other Gold Coast police, and I'm sure this is happening in other areas, are saying senior police are saying they can't cover night shifts anymore. They don't have enough police. And one senior Gold Coast police officer mentioned that there are police officers who are going home at the end of a shift and just not coming back. They've had enough. There is absolutely no support from senior police management who were exempted from the jab. You might remember, folks, senior Queensland police executives were not required to get jabs, but anybody underneath them did. And like any other industry, Queensland police have suffered a huge medical cost. They've also suffered some common sense in a lot of people who've just decided to put the badge and the gun away and walk off the job. And that's very sad for law and order. The Gold Coast is not a safe place, and I'm sure there are places like Townsville, Cairns, and others in far north Queensland experiencing crime waves because there simply are not enough coppers. And let's face it, how would they recruit Australians to join the corrupt organisation that it is at the moment? Well, it's great to see this one's gone. hopefully a few more in the not too distant future. This one was an appointment of Pluck a Duck, and was a power player during the whole spicy cough thing. So hopefully there's a short plane ride. Well, not short. It's quite a few hours to get to Guam, but hopefully there's a plane flight in her future. Unbelievable. But Cairns News, wonderful to be hooked up with them. I can't thank them enough for having us on board. And we're streaming live on their Rumble channel now. And I believe after tomorrow, we'll be streaming on the front page. I can probably show you something here. If I scroll down a bit, if we wait, aside from the Catastrophe Australia Party donation thing that you'll see there, you'll also hopefully get a look at, Voice of Freedom is being shown on their web pages as well. So thank you very much for the support. There is actually, when that flips over, I won't keep us looking at it, but when that flips over, there's a picture of you and I and the bus currently on the Cairns News story. So part of the banner. So they're looking forward to us getting up to far north Queensland and helping them out. Obviously, we're looking forward to talking to as many Queenslanders as possible between now and October. Hopefully we might find a few people between now and the time where standing up is required to stand up and represent people in your local community. And Cass, I know you've got to go, but tomorrow night I'm going to be talking about local council elections in Queensland at the moment. They're a hot thing, the local council elections coming up in late March. So do you know who your local councillors are? Do you know who are the people who want to be your local councillors? Have you ever been to a local council meeting and seen how these people operate? Well, I got to tell you, where I'm at the moment, if it's anything like your place, it's a shit fight. And I've been sent some video that I'm going to play tomorrow night that is going to show you some of the people that have already been elected to be your councillors and who are standing up to be elected again. And the beautiful thing about the internet and councils these days, and being smart councils like they are, is that they live stream their council meetings, meaning that every stupid decision, every outburst, every tantrum is captured. I'm going to show you a bit of that tomorrow night. So make sure you know who you're voting for in your local council election, folks, because they're the bastards that are going to put the smart street lights over your head and lock you up in your smart city and make sure that your electric Tesla will only go as fast as they want it to go and will only be allowed to go to where they want it to go, not where you want to go. So be aware. It starts with them, and it's a very important local council election in Queensland. I'm not sure if they're happening in other parts of the country at this time or not, but when it does come around, you really need to think hard about what you're doing and who you are electing into these low-level. Put it aside for 1 minute whether or not local councils are actually legitimate or not. If you want to make change at your local level, currently the only way to do it is to get people like us, like-minded folks, to get up and work for your community. And we need that to get better, bigger, stronger, faster around the communities of this country. And hopefully by the time the next federal election comes around, we can make a difference. Darren Bergworth's trying to do it right now in Darren for Dunkley, his campaign down there, with a bit of luck. Well, I know he's gaining huge amounts of support. He calls it an awareness campaign. I might be calling it the greatest shock surprise election win in history in a couple of weeks. It's going that well. So get behind DarrenForDunkley.com if you don't know what it's all about. And that is the caliber of human being we need representing us in every community across this country. So if you think you could be that, or you know someone who is like that, we need to hear from you. We want to meet you. And we're going to go and do a trip around Queensland and try and meet as many of you as possible. And hopefully, Cass, I'll convince you to come along and talk SMSFs at certain places.
Yeah, I'll talk SMSF. I did represent United Australia Party in the election. I tried my best, and I don't think I'm a political person. I think I'm best behind the scenes helping people with their money rather than on the front line of political. I'm not ruling it out completely, but yeah, I don't have a thick enough skin.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
I know plenty of people who'll shield you. You'll be fine. All right. I know you've got things you've got to do. So go off, enjoy your evening, do the things you have to do. Thanks for spending some time with us tonight and enlightening us a bit more. freedomffs.com is the website to go and check out if you want more details about a self-managed super fund and just how easy. Like, Cass, are we talking months to make this happen, or how long does it take?
Sped up a bit because we've hammered the super fund so hard, and like we don't let them get away with their bullshit. We can do it in 4 to 6 weeks. Our record was 17 days.
Wow. So you
17 days to get your money out of that super fund into a bank account that you control, and you buy your gold and silver.
Stunning. So could be as little as 17 days until you have complete control of your own wealth, complete control of your own future, and complete control of your own financial security. freedomffs.com. Have a good night. Look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. The lovely Cass Smith from Freedom Financial Solutions, Mary Jane and the team there too. Lovely bunch of people, and they have all the answers to the questions you may need to ask. And if you can't find a video on the subject, or you can't find a particular paper on the subject by going to the website, then by all means fire off an email to any of the girls there, Cass, Mary Jane. They will get back to you with the answers that you require. There is a process you can go through. It used to be that you would fill in a bit of a questionnaire, let them know where you sit with everything, and then they go ahead and set it all up from there. And that easy, might still be that easy. So go and check it out, freedomffs.com. And if you want to go and meet Cass in person, Wagga on Thursday night at the RSL in Shepparton at the Terminus, I can't remember, hotel in the main street there. And then Rowville, from My Place get together the following Monday night, and then My Place Frankston Tuesday next week. Get along, have a bit of a chat. If you are at all curious about how to set this up, or you've got some questions that I didn't see in the chat tonight, or maybe you're watching this later, go and check it out. A wealth of information, a lady you can trust, and I can't thank her enough for the support that she's given me, not just with the Voice of Freedom and the bus and everything else, but just as a friend. She's really good people, folks, and she wants to look after all of us. So go and give it a chance. There are a few other bits and pieces here that I did have written down that I was going to talk to you about, but I see that I'm fast approaching the witching hour. Although we did cover the news about Canberra not wanting electric cars. And we did talk a bit about Cairns News. Want to thank those guys again. Great to be part of it. And I'm looking forward to being able to bring you one of the guys from the Cairns News, hopefully with a bit of a news report, maybe on a daily basis. You might be able to see what's going to be on the headline first thing tomorrow for Cairns News. And God knows they do come up with some, pretty good bloody headlines. And the news of the day is always worth watching. So just give you a bit of an idea, that's what's currently sitting on the front page. Suncorp should have been converted into a people's bank. There's probably a pretty good argument for that, just between you, me, and the Gatepost. A bit of news about Russian forces and apparently 150 dead US Marines and 20 Australian mercenaries who've been knocked out in a railway station. Well, a bit more than knocked out at a railway station. And Hertz are selling off 20,000 electric vehicles and shifting back to petrol power. Why is that? Well, because EVs are bloody useless. And if you added up all the extra time you spent sitting on the side of the road to charge up your EV that you hired, and if you're on a long trip, you're going to probably wind up spending an extra day paying for a car hire that you didn't do any movement of the car with, because it was just stopped getting plugged in and charging. It's absolute idiocy. Anyway, highly recommend you, cairnsnews.org. Go and check them out. Say hi. There are forums and all sorts of things that you can be part of there. And I look forward to being able to bring you a bit more. Looking forward to getting up and meeting all the far north Queenslanders who are big supporters of Cairns News and Voice of Freedom too. We've got a big family of folks that live in Queensland. But there are some very staunch ones who live in far north Queensland, and I love you all. Can't wait to see you. And there are a couple of blokes that I know up there at the moment in far north Queensland. Phil and the crew, hope you're doing all right up there, boys. I know you're setting up something special, but I do hope you get the opportunity to maybe do a bit of fishing. Just don't do it on the edge where the crocs are. That would be my advice. All right, folks, going to love you and leave you tonight. My eyes have gone square. I've been to the eye doctor today and had a few drops put in, a bit of an eye examination. You might see me with another pair of glasses shortly, at least for doing this. I'm struggling reading the chat. This is why you see me playing with my glasses and moving my head around and doing all that sort of thing. So if I'm not acknowledging you properly in the chat, I apologize. It's because depending on how much work I've done in front of the computer screen all day, when I get into the chat at night, it becomes very blurry. So today I've gone off to see whether or not a new pair of glasses might be required. As it turns out, probably is. So at least for this sort of close work, because you're only that far away from me. It's not very far. I should be able to see better than that. But, well, without the aid of X39 patches on my eyes, don't know how well that's going to go. I'm probably going to have to wind up with another pair of glasses, God love us. So we'll wait and see whether or not that materializes. Keep an eye on America this week. Keep an eye on Joe Biden. There are pretty interesting stories coming out of back channels in the States at the moment that Joe Biden will be gone. And how many times have we heard this? But he is apparently going to step out of the presidential race, not the presidency, but will step out of the presidential race either before the end of February or early in March. And that just might signal Michael's entrance into the presidential war, because that's what it will be, and it's going to take an Obama to do it. And I think it will be Michael that steps up. It's not going to be a Clinton. It's going to be an Obama, because once Biden is gone, they can't lose that control. They will all go. Jack, my bad eyesight is the result of looking at my mother-in-law too many times, mate. My mother-in-law is long past, and in fact, long past being my mother-in-law. I've got to think. I've been divorced now for 30 years nearly, 29 years. So Laura was 5. So it might be 30 years. I don't know, I've forgotten how old Laura is. 30 years. So my mother-in-law, God love her, God rest her soul, she was a lovely lady. Don't know how she gave birth to the thing I married. Oh, sorry, did that come out loud? I'm being rude. I have nothing but great things to say. Well, no, that's not true. But I have no resentment left in my self about our marriage. In fact, we both agree it was the best thing that happened to both of us. Couldn't have happened at a greater time. And I don't often tell our divorce story or how we came to that decision, but we both arrived at the breakfast table essentially one morning, and I said, "Oh, look, I want to talk to you about something." And she said, "Well, good. I want to talk to you about something too." And I said, "Well, ladies first." And she said, "I want you to move out." And I said, "Oh, great." I was going to say I'll move out. So it was a very mutual decision. It was a very friendly parting of the ways. So, yeah. And the mother-in-law, I think, was the most upset of all of us about it, truth be told. She and I got along famously. Lovely lady. And the father-in-law is still alive. G'day, Bruce. Love your work, mate. Hope you're still doing all right. Yeah. All right, folks, I'm going to love you and leave you. I'm so glad that you guys are having a great time in the chat. It's great to have so many of you part of it, and great now to be able to be introduced to a new audience through Cairns News. And just between you, me, and the Gatepost, there might be another one coming up soon too. So looking forward to growing the family, and keep thinking about what's going on in the world, folks. Keep thinking hard about the decisions you're making. And if in Queensland at the moment you aren't thinking about the local government elections, for God's sake, do it. Because if you don't, these are the people that are going to allow those smart 5G lights to be put up in front of your kids' bedrooms. Everywhere you walk, they will know it all. And I mean, that's fine if you're up for that, but it's not the kind of existence that I'm looking forward. I guess there will be one advantage to having, a smart light in your street and in every other street that's connected. It's got cameras for facial recognition, for number plate recognition, for, whatever other kind of, because they'll be sampling the air for smoke and all sorts of other things. So I guess, if they've got number plate and facial recognition, there will be no escape for the dickheads on our streets.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!